Slowly, the sun dipped over the horizon. The sky was yellow, with thin, wispy clouds stretching towards the orange ball. William closed his eyes as a gentle sea breeze stroked his face, filling his nostrils with salty sea air. The quiet crashing of the waves below soothed him, urging him to take in deep breaths. William sighed and stood, his eyes briefly looking down to the rocks below, the foamy water almost inviting. He shook the thought from his head and walked back to his car, his calm faltering as he looked into the passenger seat. Victor was still sleeping, his mouth hanging open slightly, and his hair gently wafting in the breeze. William rapped on the door, and Victor's eyes fluttered open, covered in sleep and eyes hazy. Where? Victor started, a yawn cutting his words. William didn't answer as he walked to the boot of his car, pulling out a folding chair and placing it on the ground. His friend looked back, eyebrow raised, still confused. "What's going on?" he asked, but William ignored him again, pulling out the black case and placing it in the boot, lightly stroking the silver engraved buckle affectionately. He then turned and smiled at him. "Nothing," he said. "Just thought you want to watch the sunset." Victor narrowed his eyes, and a small smile stretched across his tired features, his eyebrows still raised. "How long did it take to get here?" Victor questioned, but William shrugged in response. Victor grunted and slowly got out of the car. He grabbed the chair and unfolded it, placing it on the deep green grass that covered the cliff. William heard Victor sigh and his heart turned to stone. His smile disappeared and his jaw clenched. William gently pressed the buckle, releasing it, revealing what was inside. He quickly glanced back at Victor, who was still watching the sunset. He could see a smile spread across his old friend's face, the same toothy grin that had haunted him for so long. The orange light from the setting sun had cast dark, long shadows across the grass, the shadows growing as the sun continued its descent. Silently, William pulled the blade from the case and walked behind Victor, aiming the tip of the blade at the base of Victor's neck. The world swirled around him. The orange sun turned a deep red, the crashing of the waves turned into a roaring storm, and the gentle breeze became a thundering gale. William placed his palm at the base of the hilt. His muscles tensed, and he squared his shoulders, his eyes burning into the back of Victor's head, his rage pushing to the front of his mind. But as quickly as it arrived, his rage dissipated, leaving him standing over his friend, the point of the blade inches from his neck. Quickly, William dropped the knife, the blade making a thud as it hit the dry earth below. Upon hearing its sound, Victor turned around, puzzled to see his friend standing behind him. "You alright?" he asked. William nodded frantically, avoiding his friend's eyes and looking out at the sunset. Copying him, Victor turned around and continued watching as well, sighing as he did. William looked down at his hands, seeing them shaking violently and uncontrollably. He closed his hands slowly, trying to make them stop. He slipped them into his pockets and returned to his car, looking into the case as he arrived. He closed and opened his eyes, his gaze immediately falling on her face, warmth spreading through him. Her eyes were grey and kind, and her smile was broad. He remembered the day the photo was taken. They had just taken their son to the beach, and he wanted to see what it was like at night. William had wanted to go home, but she insisted they stayed until the sun had gone down. After their son was disappointed with the sea at night, they decided to drive home the next day, finding a hotel to stay in overnight. A tear rolled down his cheek. William reached forward and clutched the photo. Her scream echoed in his mind. He stepped back, feeling the event again. His scar burned and his heart pounded. The scream grew louder until all sound was drowned out. The scream deafened his ears. He collapsed to the floor, clutching his ears, softly groaning in pain. A hand landed on William's shoulder, and he heard a faint shout. William opened his eyes to see Victor looking at him, his eyes full of worry. Gradually, the scream quietened and the world stilled, returning to the calm it had been. Victor spoke again, but his voice didn't reach William's ears. Without breaking eye contact with the man, William stood and placed a hand on Victor's shoulder and smiled at him. He watched Victor chuckle nervously. Slowly, William moved his hand up to Victor's neck. Victor's smile dropped slightly, his eyes following the hand. Like lightning, William gripped Victor's neck and lifted him off the ground. Victor wriggled and wrestled against his iron grip, trying to pry William's hand open, but to no effect. With one final push of strength, William threw Victor to the ground. As he hit the floor, Victor desperately tried to crawl away, throwing dirt and grass behind him in a vain attempt to escape. William scoffed lightly and grabbed the man's leg, dragging him back, ignoring his screams of terror. Victor kicked out, trying to release himself, but William's grip tightened, causing Victor to scream uncontrollably. A smile appeared on William's face. William dragged Victor to the edge of the cliff, throwing his legs over the edge and watching with glee as the man desperately tried to hold on. Victor brought his leg up, but the cliff gave way, and his leg fell. The roots of the grass ripped, and he slipped further. William turned away and sat in a chair, looking out at the sunset, as the last sliver of the bright burning ball started to dip under the horizon. The sun had burned the sky red, and the clouds blossomed yellow. The breeze was tossing the salty sea air into his lungs, causing a wave of calm to wash over him. William closed his eyes and smiled as he listened to the gentle crashing of the waves, the wind whistling past his ears, and Victor's screams as he fell to the rocks below. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to read the story for yourself without my narration, please do check out my website, which is linked in the description below, where you can read this story and about a dozen others. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to know when I release another one, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.